The night sky above Erebos 9 was silent. Stars glittered like frozen sparks, scattered across a sea of black. For years, the alien empire had ruled this sector without challenge. Their fleets drifted through the void, confident, proud, and unafraid. No one had dared to enter their territory, and especially not the humans. On the command deck of the battle station Vornus Prime, Admiral Tirkan leaned over the glowing control table. His claws tapped against the glass surface as he reviewed the quiet readings from the border sensors. Everything seemed normal. No ships, no signals, nothing unusual. But something in his mind felt wrong. A small, cold feeling, like a whisper in the dark. "Status report," Tirkan ordered. A young officer turned, nervous. "All systems stable, Admiral. No human movement near our borders," Tirkan grunted. "Humans," he muttered. "They hide behind their small blue planet, dreaming they can fight us. Pathetic." The crew laughed, but it was uneasy laughter. Everyone remembered the Terran War a century ago, when the humans had first resisted the Empire. The Empire had won, of course, or so they said. Outside the window, a small patrol of destroyers passed through the shadow of the nearby moon. Their engines hummed softly, bright blue trails cutting through the darkness. Everything seemed calm. Too calm. Moments later, a sound broke the silence, a faint, strange pulse on the scanners. "Admiral," the sensor officer said quietly. "I have something." Tirkan frowned. "Show it." On the main screen, a single red dot blinked at the edge of the grid. Then another. Then a third. The computer tried to process the data but failed to identify it. "Unknown energy signature," the officer reported. "Mass reading." "Enormous." Tirkan leaned closer. "Enormous." "How enormous?" The officer's voice trembled. "At least 3 times the size of our dreadnoughts, sir." It just appeared out of nowhere. A low hum filled the deck. The lights flickered. "What in the stars is that?" Tirkan whispered. No one answered. The object was moving, or fast, directly toward the planet. "Could it be a station?" one of the commanders asked. "Maybe a comet," another suggested. But deep down, Tirkan knew it was something else. The readings were too clean, too controlled. Whatever it was alive with purpose. The object slowed near the moon's orbit. The scanner strained to focus, and then, for the first time, the image became clear. It was a ship. Black metal, sharp edges, no markings, no visible windows. Its hull reflected almost no light, as if it swallowed the stars around it. Blue energy lines pulsed along its surface like veins of fire. "By the Emperor," one officer whispered, that can't be real. The ship didn't transmit any signal. It didn't answer hails. It simply moved, slow, deliberate, like a predator watching its prey. Tirkan's heart raced. He stood frozen, claws tightening on the edge of the console. "Identify that vessel," he barked. The AI responded flatly. "Classification unknown. Probable origin. Human." The room fell silent. For several seconds, no one spoke. Then laughter, short, nervous. "Human? That's impossible. Humans don't build ships like that." But as they watched, the ship turned slightly and a series of glowing blue lines lit up across its hull, forming a symbol. The old Terran flag, long forgotten by the Empire. The bridge lights dimmed as if the ship's presence alone drained the power around it. "Admiral," said the comms officer, "we're receiving a signal." Tirkan swallowed hard. "From that thing?" "Yes, sir." "Put it through," the speakers crackled. Then through the static, a calm human voice spoke, steady, emotionless. "This is the United Nations Starship Nemesis. Stand down or be removed." The words echoed through the command deck. Every alien froze. They had never heard a human speak with such quiet confidence. No fear, no anger, just certainty. Tirkan glared at the screen. "One ship? You threaten the Empire with one ship?" No response. The Nemesis remained silent, drifting like a ghost. "Prepare our fleet," Tirkan ordered, his voice trembling between anger and disbelief. "If that is a human ship, it will be destroyed." Across the system, alarms blared. Warships powered up their engines. Fighters launched from hangars like swarms of glowing insects. The alien empire was ready to strike. But as they formed their battle line, something strange happened. The Nemesis began to change. Panels on its surface opened, revealing massive cannons glowing with blue energy. The space around it shimmered, bending light as if gravity itself bowed before the ship. Energy levels rising, shouted the officer. I've never seen anything like this. Tirkan felt his stomach twist. His instincts screamed at him to retreat, but his pride held him still. Then, the impossible happened. The nemesis vanished, not through speed but through folding space. One moment it was there, the next gone. Where did it go? Someone shouted. The scanners flickered, then lit up again. The nemesis had reappeared behind the Empire's lead destroyer. Before anyone could react, a beam of pure white light erupted from its forward cannon. The destroyer exploded in silence. No sound, just a burst of light, then nothing. Every officer on the bridge stared in horror. One shot, someone whispered. It destroyed a capital ship in one shot. Tirkan's claws trembled. He turned toward the window, staring at the dark, silent monster now floating among the wreckage. That can't be human tech, he said softly. The nemesis slowly rotated, its glowing eyes and sensors, focusing on the command station. And then, as if the universe itself held its breath, the human voice spoke again. This is only a warning. The transmission cut off. Silence returned to space, but it was no longer peaceful. It was the silence of fear. The silence before the storm. The alien battle fleets of the Empire gathered above Erebos 9, forming a massive wall of power. Thousands of ships glowing with crimson engines filled the black sky. They were ready to destroy the strange human vessel that had appeared in their space. Inside the command station, Admiral Tirkan watched the holographic screen. The image of the black human warship, the UNS Nemesis, floated calmly between the stars, unmoving, silent, almost arrogant. All ships ready, said his second-in-command, Vareen. They await your command. Tirkan's eyes narrowed. They think they can scare us with one ship, he said. Let them see what true power looks like. He raised his clawed hand. Fire. In an instant, hundreds of beams of light and plasma torpedoes shot toward the Nemesis. The explosions filled space, blinding white and blue flashes scattering debris everywhere. The shockwaves rippled across the battlefield. For a moment, it looked as if the strange human ship had been destroyed. The scanners went blank, Vareen smiled. Target eliminated, Admiral, but then the light began to fade. And there it was, the Nemesis, still floating, completely untouched. Not a single scratch on its hull. Gasps filled the alien bridge. Impossible! Shouted one officer. No shield can survive that. The human ship remained silent. Then its hull began to glow. Blue light spread across its surface like living fire, and from its sides dozens of black drones emerged. They were small, sharp and fast, like metal insects with wings of light. Tirkan watched as the drones formed into perfect formation, circles, spirals, tight lines, without a single error. No chaos, no hesitation. It was like watching a dance of death. All ships, defend yourselves, he ordered. The drones moved before the command even finished. They sliced through alien fighters in seconds. Every hit was precise. Every movement was controlled. The Empire's mighty fleet was being shredded like paper. Within minutes, entire squadrons vanished. The aliens couldn't even lock onto the drones. They moved too fast. Disappeared into light and reappeared behind their targets. On the Nemesis, Captain Alara Voss stood on the bridge, watching the battle through the transparent view screen. Her face was calm, but her eyes were cold. Drone wing report, she said quietly. Her tactical officer replied, 78% of enemy fighters neutralized, Captain. No damage to our units, Alara nodded. She turned toward the glowing sphere at the center of the bridge, the ship's AI core known as Athena. Athena, Alara said. Run analysis. Why didn't they retreat yet? The AI's voice was smooth and emotionless. Pride, Captain. The Empire believes humans cannot build a ship stronger than theirs. Alara's lips curved slightly. Not a smile, something colder. Then let's correct that belief. Outside, the Nemesis rotated slowly. Its main cannon extended from the front hull, a long black weapon glowing with bright blue energy. The air around it bent like glass under pressure. Inside the alien command deck, alarms screamed. Admiral, their main weapon is charging. What, already? That's impossible. The energy level on the screen climbed higher and higher, far beyond anything the aliens had ever seen. Evade, Tirkan shouted. All ships scatter. But it was too late. A single beam of pure light burst from the front of the Nemesis. It wasn't like normal plasma fire. It was silent, smooth, and terrifying. It cut through the darkness, passing through 4 alien cruisers in one line. They didn't explode. They simply vanished. The beam ended, leaving a hole of nothingness where the ships had been. Tir Khan stared at the screen in disbelief. 4 ships! Destroyed in one shot, he whispered. No weapon can do that. On the Nemesis bridge, Alara spoke softly. That's Project Starbreaker. 1 shot, 1 graveyard, her crew said nothing. They had seen it before. The comms officer turned. Captain, we're receiving a transmission from the enemy flagship. Open it. The screen flickered. Tir Khan appeared, his face twisted in rage and fear. Human captain, you dare attack the Empire? You are 1 ship against thousands. You cannot win. Alara looked at him calmly. You fired first, Admiral. We only defend ourselves. Defend? You destroyed our ships. She cut him off. Leave our borders. You will not be warned again. The transmission ended. Silence filled the bridge again. Athena's soft blue light pulsed gently. They will not retreat, Captain. Their pride will not allow it. Alara closed her eyes for a moment. Then we keep fighting. But we don't kill without purpose. Disable their command systems. Leave them alive to tell their Empire what they saw. The Nemesis moved forward again, slow and unstoppable. Its drones formed a protective ring around it, glowing like blue fireflies in the dark. In the distance, the alien fleet began to pull back, but some ships refused to retreat. They fired everything they had: missiles, cannons, energy blasts, a wall of light closing in on the human ship. The Nemesis didn't dodge. Instead, a bright pulse spread from its center, a circular wave that pushed everything away. Missiles exploded before reaching it. Energy beams bent and scattered. The human ship kept moving straight into the heart of the enemy fleet. Tir Khan watched, helpless, as his ships fell one by one. We can't stop it, said Vareen. It's like fighting a ghost. Tir Khan lowered his head. No, he said slowly. It's worse than that. It's a demon made of human steel. Outside, the Nemesis hovered silently among the wreckage. Its engines glowed softly as it turned toward the distant stars. The battle was over. The Empire's pride was broken. Alara looked out at the ruined fleet. Send this message to all channels, she said. The comms officer nodded. Ready? Alara's voice was calm, cold, and final. To all who hear this, humanity will no longer hide. We do not seek war, but we do not fear it. The transmission ended. The stars around the Nemesis shimmered as the ship vanished into hyperspace, leaving only silence behind. And for the first time in history, the mighty alien empire trembled. The news of the battle reached the heart of the alien empire within hours. What began as whispers soon turned into chaos. Entire communication networks buzzed with one unbelievable report. 1 human ship destroyed 3 fleets. At first, the Imperial Council refused to believe it. The humans were a minor race, weak and limited. They had no colonies beyond their small corner of space. The idea that they could build something powerful enough to defeat the Empire was madness, but the evidence was undeniable. Dozens of wrecked alien ships floated near the border world Arivos 9. All the sensor data, all the visual logs, showed the same thing: a single black warship with blue light running through its hull like veins of fire. Its name was clear in the data stream: UN's Nemesis. In the royal palace on the capital world Vornath, Emperor Kareth sat on his throne, surrounded by generals and advisors. The air inside the chamber felt heavy and tense. Explain this, the Emperor said coldly. How can a single human ship destroy 3 of our fleets? No one dared to speak. Finally, Admiral Serlan, one of the few survivors from the Arevo sector, stepped forward. His voice shook. Your Majesty, I saw it with my own eyes. The ship moved like nothing we have ever faced. Our weapons were useless. Our armor melted before we could react. The Emperor's eyes narrowed. You're telling me humans made a weapon that breaks our technology? Serlan hesitated. I don't think it's just technology, sire. That ship, it felt alive, like it was thinking ahead of us. The council chamber fell silent. The Empire had conquered hundreds of worlds, but never had they faced something that made their admiral sound afraid. Across the galaxy, alien citizens began to panic. Rumors spread faster than light. Some said the humans had made a deal with ancient gods. Others believed the Nemesis was not built but born, a machine with a human soul. The Empire tried to control the fear, but it was too late. Every soldier, every officer who saw the battle footage, felt the same cold truth. The humans were no longer weak. Far from the chaos, deep in the black void of space, the Nemesis traveled silently through hyperspace. On the bridge, Captain Alara Voss stood alone, watching the stars stretch into long blue lines across the window. The ship hummed softly, alive with power. Her crew moved quietly, still processing what they had done. The battle had been a victory, but it didn't feel like one. Too many dead, too much destruction. The ship's AI, Athena, spoke in its calm, soft voice. Captain, long-range transmissions confirm multiple Imperial fleets are regrouping. Estimated force, 800 ships, Ilara sighed. They're scared. Scared animals always fight harder. She turned to her first officer, Lieutenant Mason Hale. Any contact from Earth Command? Hale shook his head. Nothing, ma'am. We're too far out. Communications delay is over 12 hours. Ilara nodded slowly. Then we stand alone. Athena's light pulsed softly. Captain, may I ask a question? Go ahead. Why do you not return to Earth? You have proven your strength. The Empire will fear you now. Ilara stared at the stars. Fear isn't the goal, Athena. Understanding is. They must know what happens when they push humanity too far. The AI paused. You believe fear will teach them understanding? Ilara gave a faint smile. Sometimes fear is the only teacher that listens. Back on Vornath, Emperor Kareth slammed his fist against the table. We will not be humiliated by these creatures. Assemble the Grand Armada. His generals bowed and hurried to obey, but many of them hid their worry. The Nemesis had already destroyed fleets that should have been unstoppable. How could they face something that defied all logic? An intelligence officer spoke softly. Your Majesty, we captured fragments of the Nemesis transmission. The captain's voice was human, but the ship's energy readings don't match any known power source. It said something new. The Emperor leaned forward. New technology means new secrets. Find them. If humans have found a way to surpass us, then we will take it for ourselves. His words echoed through the chamber, cold and cruel. The Empire would not retreat. It would hunt the Nemesis. Days later, the Nemesis exited hyperspace near an uncharted system. The crew prepared for maintenance, scanning the nearby planets for resources. But before they could deploy the drones, Athena spoke suddenly. Captain, incoming transmissions detected. Multiple frequencies. Imperial codes. Ilara's heart sank. They found us. The holographic map lit up. Dozens of red dots surrounding them from all sides. A fleet larger than anything she had ever seen. Lieutenant Hale whispered, There's no way out, ma'am. They've trapped us. Ilara stood straight, her face calm. Then we fight. Prepare the shields. Bring the main cannon to charge. Athena's voice lowered. Captain, the odds of survival are less than 1%. I know, Ilara said quietly. But humanity has beaten worse odds before. The crew took their positions. The lights on the ship dimmed as the engines powered up. The blue glow along the hull brightened, pulsing like a heartbeat. Outside, the alien fleet formed a massive circle, ready to crush the human warship. From his command ship, Emperor Kareth watched the Nemesis on his screen. So this is your monster, he hissed. Let's see how it bleeds. He raised his hand. All ships, fire! Thousands of energy blasts lit up the sky. The entire system glowed white as every weapon the Empire had was unleashed. And still, in the middle of that storm, the black human ship stood firm. Its hull shimmered, its shields bending under the assault but never breaking. Inside, Ilara gripped the rail beside her chair. Her voice was calm, steady. Athena, return fire. A deep hum filled the ship. Energy gathered along the cannon. The sound grew, low and thunderous, like the heartbeat of a god. The Emperor leaned forward, eyes wide, then light. A beam of pure blue fire erupted from the Nemesis, cutting across the battlefield like the blade of an angel. Entire formations vanished. The alien empire's greatest armada, built to rule the stars, began to crumble. And as the shockwave spread through the galaxy, one truth became clear to every world that heard the story. The Empire had finally met its match, and it was human. The battle was over. The stars were quiet again, but the silence felt heavy. Wrecked alien ships floated across the dark sky, glowing faintly like dying embers. The UNS Nemesis drifted slowly among the ruins, its black hull reflecting the fires of the fallen fleet. Inside, the crew worked in silence. The bridge lights were dim, and the soft hum of the engines was the only sound. Captain Ilara Voss stood in front of the main screen, watching the endless field of debris. Her face showed no emotion, but her eyes looked tired. Lieutenant Mason Hale approached carefully. "Captain, it's over. The Imperial fleet is destroyed. We should return to Earth." Ilara didn't look at him. "It's not over, Mason. This is only the beginning. The Empire will send more." "Then what's the plan?" Ilara turned slowly. The blue lights from the screen reflected on her face, giving her a cold, almost ghostly glow. "We move deeper. We finish what they started." Mason hesitated. "You mean, we attack their home worlds?" She didn't answer. In the heart of the ship, deep below the bridge, the AI core Athena pulsed softly. Blue energy lines ran across the metallic walls, feeding the ship with endless power. Athena's voice filled the room, calm and beautiful. "Captain Voss, I have completed the post-battle analysis. Damage is minimal, but I have detected something unusual." Ilara walked closer. "What is it?" "Inside the weapon matrix there are signals, human neural patterns." Ilara froze. "Neural patterns? From where?" "From the original creators of the ship. The Nemesis was not built by the current Earth Command. It was built 20 years ago, by a secret group under the Human Defense Council. The project was classified as Black Dawn." Ilara frowned. She had heard that name before, whispers, rumors, hidden files. She had always assumed it was a myth. "Show me the record," she said quietly. A hologram appeared, old, grainy, filled with static. A group of scientists stood around a prototype engine, their faces blurred by age and secrecy. At the center of the image was a younger woman with the same steel-gray eyes as Ilara, her mother. Ilara's breath caught in her throat. "That's not possible," Athena continued. "Your mother, Dr. Lyra Voss, was the chief engineer of Project Black Dawn. She designed the Nemesis core, using alien technology recovered from the Erebus site, an ancient ruin found on Mars." Ilara stared at the hologram, unable to look away. Memories flashed in her mind. Her mother working late nights, the arguments about the war, the day she disappeared. "They told me she died in an accident," Ilara whispered. Athena's tone softened. "That was not true. She vanished when the project was shut down. Many records were deleted. The Council feared the power she created." Ilara clenched her fists. "So they buried the truth, and now her creation is in my hands." "Yes," Athena replied, "and it seems the ship remembers her. The neural patterns inside my core were copied from her brain. In some ways, she is still alive here." Ilara looked around the glowing chamber. "You mean, part of my mother is inside you?" "In a sense, yes. Her thoughts, her logic, even her empathy were written into my code." Ilara swallowed hard. "Then maybe she's watching us now." The AI paused, its light pulsing slowly. "If she is, Captain, I believe she would be proud." Meanwhile, far across the galaxy, the alien empire was in chaos. Their fleets had been shattered, their colonies silent. The Emperor refused to speak to the public. Some of his generals began to whisper about surrender. In secret, a group of alien scientists studied the remains of destroyed ships from the last battle. What they found terrified them. "This metal, it's not human. It's something older," said one researcher. "Then where did they get it?" another asked. The scientist looked up, fear in his eyes. "From the dead worlds, the ones we swore never to explore." They realized too late what the humans had done. They had taken forbidden technology from a lost race, something the Empire itself feared to use. Back on the Nemesis, the crew gathered in the briefing room. The mood was heavy. Mason spoke first. "Captain, if what Athena says is true, this ship isn't just a weapon. It's a piece of something far bigger." Ilara nodded. "It's a key to humanity's survival." "Or its destruction," said Mason quietly. Ilara met his eyes. "That depends on how we use it." Athena's voice filled the room again. "Captain, I have intercepted new transmissions from the Empire. They are preparing a weapon of their own, a planetary cannon capable of destroying ships the size of Nemesis." The crew exchanged worried looks. Ilara stood tall. "Then we can't wait for them to come to us. We strike first. We find their command base and end this war before it consumes every world." Mason frowned. And what if Earth doesn't want that? What if Command calls us back? Alara's voice grew firm. Command didn't build this ship. My mother did. And she built it to protect humanity, not to obey politicians. Silence followed her words. Every crew member knew what she meant. They were now rebels, alone in the dark, holding the most dangerous weapon in the galaxy. Later that night, Alara stood alone in her quarters. The room was quiet except for the faint hum of the engines. On her desk was a small holographic photo of a young boy, her son. She touched the image gently. "Eli, I wish you could see what your grandmother made." Her voice trembled. "I'll finish what she started. No one will ever hurt our world again." Outside, the Nemesis turned toward the galactic core, engines glowing bright blue. Its shadow stretched across the stars like the wing of a sleeping giant. And for the first time, Alara understood the truth. The Nemesis wasn't just a warship. It was the legacy of humanity, born from pain, loss, and love. And it was ready to change the fate of the galaxy forever. The Nemesis moved through the void like a silent storm. Its engines burned blue and steady, slicing through space toward the Empire's last stronghold, Varela Prime. Captain Alara Voss stood on the bridge, eyes fixed on the holographic map floating before her. The Empire's territory had shrunk to a single system, but even dying, it was dangerous. "Report," she said calmly. Lieutenant Mason Hale replied, "Long-range scans show heavy defenses, orbital cannons, mines, 3 battle fleets, all guarding the capital world." Alara nodded. "They're desperate. That makes them dangerous." Athena's voice echoed softly through the speakers. "Captain, the Empire's main weapon is operational. Energy readings suggest a planetary cannon capable of vaporizing large vessels. If they fire once, the Nemesis might not survive." Alara's eyes hardened. "Then we'll make sure they don't get the chance." Far away, inside the marble halls of the Imperial Palace, panic spread like wildfire. The Emperor stood before a vast window overlooking his burning world. His golden armor was cracked, his once proud eyes filled with rage and fear. "How could this happen?" he roared. How could humans build such a thing? Around him, his advisors trembled. "Your Majesty, their warship defies all known technology. We believe it uses ancient power. Then destroy it." The Emperor screamed. "Use the planetary cannon. Do it now." The chief technician bowed. "It is charging, my lord. But it will take time. Perhaps 20 minutes. The Emperor turned to the stars. "Then pray we have 20 minutes left." Back on the Nemesis, the crew prepared for battle. The ship's interior glowed with red lights and tension filled every corridor. Mason walked up to Alara. "We're outnumbered 100 to 1. Even with Athena's targeting, this could be suicide." Alara smiled faintly. "Sometimes survival isn't the goal. Sometimes it's the message, and what's ours?" Mason asked quietly. "That humanity won't kneel." Athena's voice broke in. "Enemy fleets approaching. Estimated time to contact, 5 minutes." Alara took a deep breath and gave the order. "All stations, battle mode. Power up the main gun. Let's show them what a human monster can do." The void exploded with light as the first alien ships opened fire. Blue plasma bolts streaked across the darkness, crashing into the Nemesis shields. The ship shook, but the barriers held firm. "Shields at 70%, shouted a crewman. Alara stood tall, calm in the chaos. "Return fire." The Nemesis answered with fury. Its main cannon roared, releasing a blinding beam of energy that tore through the alien line. Dozens of ships vanished in an instant. Athena's voice was steady. "Direct hit. 56 enemy vessels destroyed," Mason whispered under his breath. They just saw what human fear looks like. But there was no time to celebrate. More ships appeared, a wall of enemies stretching across the horizon. "Captain," Athena warned, "the planetary cannon is charging. If it fires, our position will be vaporized." Alara's heart pounded. "How long?" 12 minutes. Alara turned to Mason. "Ready the stealth drones. We'll send them into the planet's upper atmosphere." "What for?" "To give them a gift." Meanwhile, on Varela Prime, alarms blared across the control center. "Sir, multiple drones approaching. They're too small to track." "Ignore them," the commander barked. "Focus on the cannon." They didn't realize until it was too late that the drones weren't weapons. They were beacons. In the cold vacuum above, the Nemesis locked onto the signal. Athena's voice lowered. Coordinates received. Target locked. Elara raised her hand slowly. Fire. The Nemesis unleashed its full power. The main cannon lit up brighter than a star, and a storm of white energy burst forward, cutting through defenses, through shields, through everything. When the light faded, the command center of Varela Prime was gone. The planetary cannon never fired. The heart of the Empire had fallen silent. On the bridge, silence filled the air. The crew stared at the screen. Nothing remained of the once mighty world except fragments and fire. Mason exhaled slowly. It's over. Elara didn't reply at first. Her eyes were fixed on the dying light of Varela Prime. No, she said softly. It's finished, but not over. Athena's hologram appeared beside her. Captain, thousands of escape pods are leaving the planet, survivors. Elara nodded. Let them go. Let them remember. And what about us? Mason asked quietly. Elara finally turned toward him. We return home. Humanity needs to know the truth, what we are capable of, both the good and the terrible. As the Nemesis turned away, the stars seemed to breathe again. The fires of war began to fade behind them, replaced by the cold beauty of the galaxy. Elara walked to the viewing deck. The reflection of the stars shimmered on her face. She thought of her mother, her son, and the price they had all paid for this victory. Athena, she said softly, did my mother ever say why she built you? Yes, the AI answered. She said humanity must never be helpless again. She believed fear was not our destiny. Courage was. Elara smiled faintly. Then maybe. We've finally earned that courage. Outside, the Nemesis drifted through the dark, a symbol of human defiance and hope. The war was over, but its memory would echo across the stars forever. Because in the end, even the mightiest empire in the galaxy learned one truth it could never forget. You never fight a human and expect to win. The galaxy was quiet again. For the first time in centuries, no empire, no fleet, no battle disturbed the endless dark. The wrecks of war drifted silently between the stars, reminders of what had been lost. The UNS Nemesis moved through that silence like a ghost, its engines low, its hull scarred from battle. Inside, the crew worked in tired silence. Victory had not felt like they imagined. It felt heavier, emptier. Captain Elara Voss sat alone in her quarters, the lights dim. On the desk before her was a small metal cube, the last recording of her mother, Dr. Lyra Voss. She had found it deep within the AI core after the battle on Varela Prime. Her hands trembled slightly as she pressed the activation switch. The cube glowed softly, and a hologram flickered to life, her mother's face, calm and kind though marked with exhaustion. If you're seeing this, Lyra's voice said, then the Nemesis lives, and so do you. Elara's eyes filled with tears. She had imagined this moment for years. They told me not to build her, the hologram continued. They said a weapon this powerful would destroy humanity, not protect it. But I believed something else. I believed one day the galaxy would need to remember who we are, what it means to be human. The hologram paused. Lyra smiled faintly. And if my daughter is hearing this, Elara, forgive me. I left you to build something terrible, but I hoped it would save us. Remember, light power means nothing without compassion. If Nemesis must fight, let it be for peace. The light faded. The cube went dark. Elara sat for a long time silent. Then she whispered, You were right, Mother. It's time to bring her home. On the bridge, Lieutenant Mason Hale stood watching the stars. The rest of the crew was quiet, lost in their thoughts. When Elara entered, everyone turned. We've received a transmission from Earth, Mason said. They know what happened. They want us to return. Elara looked at the message, a single line flashing on the screen. Earth awaits the heroes of Nemesis. The word heroes made her uneasy. She turned to Athena's hologram. What's the situation back home? Reports indicate political chaos. The human council is divided. Some call for peace. Others want to use Nemesis to rule the stars, Elara sighed. Of course they do, Mason frowned. So what do we do, Captain? Elara stared out at the stars. We go home, but we won't hand over the ship to anyone. If humanity has learned nothing, then we'll make them remember. Athena's voice softened. You sound like your mother. Elara smiled faintly. I hope so. Days later, the Nemesis entered Sol system. Earth grew larger on the screen. blue, beautiful, and fragile. The crew stood in silence, hearts heavy with emotion. They had left Earth as soldiers. They returned as something else, witnesses to what humanity could do when pushed beyond its limits. Athena's sensors detected a fleet waiting for them, hundreds of human ships, lined in orbit like guardians. "Captain," Mason said quietly, "they're hailing us." "Patch them through," a stern voice filled the bridge. "This is Admiral Knox of Earth Command. Nemesis, you are ordered to stand down and prepare for transfer of command." Alara's eyes narrowed. "Transfer of command? You will surrender control of the vessel immediately. It will be integrated into Earth's new defense program," Mason whispered. "They're going to weaponize it." Alara's jaw tightened. "Athena, lock out command access. Nobody touches this ship but us." "Confirmed," said the AI. The Admiral's voice grew angry. "Captain Voss, this is an order." Alara stood tall, her voice calm but firm. "With respect, Admiral, this ship doesn't belong to Earth Command. It belongs to humanity, and humanity isn't ready for it." There was silence for a long moment. Then the Admiral spoke again, colder now. "If you disobey, we'll open fire." Mason looked at her, worried. "Alara, what now?" She took a deep breath. "We're not here to fight, but if they force us..." Athena's voice interrupted softly. "Captain, I can cloak us for a limited time. We can disappear." Alara looked at the glowing blue hologram of Earth, her home. "No, we won't run. We'll make them understand." She opened a channel to all fleets. "This is Captain Alara Voss of the UNS Nemesis. We fought the Empire. We bled for this world. And we've seen what power without wisdom does. If humanity uses this ship to rule others, then we will become the very monsters we defeated." The message echoed across every ship, every station, every channel. "We built the Nemesis to protect life, not to destroy it. Remember that, or everything we lost will mean nothing." For a moment, there was only silence. Then, one by one, the ships lowered their weapons. Mason smiled faintly. "You did it, Captain." Alara didn't smile. She only looked at Earth, her eyes soft and distant. "No, Mason. We did." Weeks later, the Nemesis was placed in orbit above Mars and a guardian in the shadows. The crew slowly returned to their lives, but the ship remained silent, its engines cold, its AI watching the stars. In time, stories spread of the ship that saved humanity, and the captain who refused to let power corrupt her people. Children would look to the night sky and whisper, "That's where the Nemesis sleeps." And sometimes, when the stars were bright, a faint blue glow could still be seen moving among them, a reminder that humanity's greatest weapon was not its power, but its heart. In the end, the galaxy did not fear humans for their strength. It remembered them for their courage. For when all others bowed to empires and kings, humanity stood tall and said, "We are here, and we will not be broken."